Remember back when Donald Trump was president the first time? We had this whole cultural movement catalyzed by Trump. There was a massive public outcry when the infamous Access Hollywood tape dropped, and Trump was, well, elected anyway. And the day after Trump's inauguration, about 500,000 people flocked to the National Mall to join the Women's March protesting his administration. And then later that year, multiple women came forward with allegations of predation by people like Harvey Weinstein and Matt Lauer, and a long who's who list of other powerful men, accusing them of behavior that had been kept secret or swept under the rug for years and treated as acceptable behavior. The Me Too movement was a genuine cultural backlash against the permission structure that turned a blind eye to these abuses in all sorts of parts of American society. And in some ways, 2024 was this anti-Me Too election, right? I mean, Donald Trump and the people around him proud of the fact that they were unaccountable. But now with the release of these Epstein emails this week, it's a pretty stark reminder there was a Me Too movement for a reason. Faz Shakir is a senior advisor to Senator Bernie Sanders, executive director of More Perfect Union. Tara Setmeyer is founder and CEO of the Seneca Project, former Republican communications director on Capitol Hill. And they joined me now. Tara, I'm just so struck as I go through these emails of reconnecting with why we had that volcanic cultural moment around Me Too in the first place. Like watching all this sort of glad-handing, backslapping of all these people with a guy who, in some of these emails, makes jokes about his own predatory behavior, and that it had somehow been normalized so much. And I feel like there's something about Trump being at the heart of this and the repulsion he initiated the first time that there was kind of a backlash to, that feels like there's something seismic culturally sort of right about to blow. What do you think?
Well, I think that it speaks volumes about where we are as a society and where, for us as women, I mean, it's partly why I co-founded the Seneca Project. We needed to give women a permission structure to vote in their best interest, regardless of who they may have voted for before, and to realize that what's happening to women is bigger than partisanship. But cognitive dissonance is a hell of a drug. And I think that we've seen oftentimes in our society that bad behavior is rewarded. And the fact that men seem to get away with so much that women sometimes are like, what more do we need to do here? Like, how much more do we need to speak up? And what do we need to do for you to believe us? And yet men still seem to get away with it. Mediocrity in men is something that for women, extraordinary women, we often have to look at and go, really? This is what we have to still deal with in 2025. The fact that Donald Trump, someone who brags about abusing women, who has predatory behavior, who bragged on video about grabbing women, to get elected not once but twice, and to have the majority of white women still vote for him is, I think, something that we need to take a look at as a culture as to why. There's a lot of factors here. We're not going to solve it in this segment tonight, but I think there's a lot of self-reflection that needs to happen, because for us at Seneca and the content that we produced, saying to women, listen, it's a time for choosing. It's bigger than partisanship. What's happening to us? We're the only group to lose a right. And here's someone and a group of people and an ideology that wants to take us back to an era where we didn't have equal rights. So what are you doing considering voting for someone that thinks this way of you? And yet here we are. So I think now the Epstein episode is so repulsive and so evil, because now we're talking about children and we're talking about predatory behavior on young women. That is an evil cabal that a lot of rich and powerful people are behind, and potentially now the president of the United States is adjacent to this in some way. And it's forcing us to have this conversation in a very serious way.
Well, and I think, Faz, part of the political peril here is that you've got there's sort of axis of sort of establishment, anti-establishment, or sort of insider-outsider, which I think has been kind of crucial to Trump, right? The sort of notion of him as outsider against the insiders. And one of the things I think you've seen the last week, like between the elections last Tuesday and a week ago for Democrats, and this like problem with affordability, the kind of cultural sense of him as connected billionaire, not looking out for working people, and connected to the Epstein mess, all puts him in the insider category as opposed to the outsider category, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And, as much as there's the prostitution ring, sex trafficking ring run by Jeffrey Epstein, which, Donald Trump seemed to have some relationship or understanding of or knowledge of, who knows, we'll find out as we get into this. There's also the sense that Jeffrey Epstein was a connector of power. He was doing all this to connect money and wealth and power. He wasn't running it for working class people. He's running it for giving Donald Trump and people like him more ability to execute agendas for the elites. And when you look at how Donald Trump was utilizing Epstein and how Epstein utilized him, the agenda that now he's pursuing is very consistent with it. These are the rings of people for whom he does work for whom his agenda works. And then when you take it from the lens of women and you're saying, okay, I'm getting cut on Medicaid, I've got attacks on public school teachers, I've lost right to Roe. I'm not only the loser, I'm also not only shamed by Donald Trump's policies, I also see who he works overtime for, the entire ring, the cabal.
There's some developments here. So one of the interesting dynamics in all this, I think, on the discharge petition, right, is that you have Massey, and then you have three very, very Trumpy Republican women: Nancy Mace, Lauren Boebert, and Marjorie Taylor Greene. And clearly there was pressure put on all three to get off that discharge petition. And clearly there's a lot of anger in the White House that they did not. And so tonight, Trump has withdrawn his support of Marjorie Taylor Greene. He just posted saying, I'm withdrawing my support and endorsement of Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of the great state of Georgia. The post goes on for so long that we would be here till 10 p.m. Lots of ranting, lots of anger, calls her wacky, basically says she's mad because he told her not to run for Senate. But this is an interesting development. Tara, what do you make of it?
Well, it's part of the undoing of Donald Trump. He's been melting down the last couple of days here because his normal tactics, it's predictable. It's the greatest hits. It's not working the same way.
Yeah.
He hasn't really faced this level of backlash from his own people. He's used to this coming from the political opposition. He's not used to it coming from within. And I think this is indicative of a potential dam breaking within MAGA because he's exposed. Donald Trump has always been a fraud. He's never give a damn about the actual base that elected him. And they're recognizing that he's betraying them in every way. From the affordability issue, he promised them life would be better. It's not. On the America First agenda, he's running around the world doing illegal things internationally and getting us involved in places we shouldn't be. That's not America First. He's bailing out Argentina farmers while our own farmers are filing for bankruptcy, soybean farmers and ranchers. And with SNAP benefits and what's happening with the government, his own people are impacted by this. Rural hospitals closing, health insurance going up. Their lives are not better. Donald Trump has betrayed them. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, for goodness sakes of all people, has actually pointed this out. Now, her motivations for this are probably purely political and political expediency. I mean, she hasn't had a come to Jesus moment. She recognizes that there's an opening for her to set her own lane here because Donald Trump's brand of politics and his populism is starting to wane because his own people are starting to recognize that he's a fraud and doesn't give a damn about them either. And they're starting to question it. And she's positioning herself to be a champion for that. It's a fascinating dynamic.
Yeah, it also feels like this is the last 10 days, Faz, of the first time that the notion of him as a lame duck feels like it's in the air. Right?
Yeah, right. And the lashing out, I would also appreciate Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, I know, people are going to doubt her motivations and raise concerns about is she a person of integrity doing this? I will say, when you do these kinds of things, you get tons of arrows. It is not going to be easy for her. I think she even had a partner who is, close with Donald Trump as a media person, and even personally in every professional which way, they'll go after. It's going to be nasty. And thankfully, she has started, and she's part of a movement that is occurring. I think, weirdly, Elon Musk did a little bit at the beginning. The Epstein thing has not, it almost began the fall of Donald Trump in the second term. When you saw that the movement of people raising this concern, Trump trying to hide from it, metastasizing a political movement. You see in Tucker Carlson, so many others, Joe Rogan, starting to raise more concerns. What did we just vote for here? What are the values and what is the agenda of this guy? You can see that started the peeling off in the second term. And unlike the first term, by the way, when Alexander Acosta took the fall for him, he doesn't have somebody taking the fall for him. It's all on him.
Faiz Shakir, Tara Setmeyer, thank you so much.